Good morning, students. I hope everyone is fine. Okay, so it's story time today. Yes, no? Happy? No lessons, no poems, nothing, only story time. And I know most of you love reading stories, So we love reading stories. Today we are going to learn how to write a story. Yes, so we are going to become story writers today. So after today's session, I think many of you will be encouraged to write some stories. So let us talk about story. Now, good story, what is a good story? Which story do we call good story? So, what are the qualities of a good story? So, a good story should interest, excite, and amuse. No? A story's appeal, it depends upon its plot and the narration of that plot. But to narrate even a simple story requires practice. You must have noticed how grandparents and elders, they are so good in storytelling. It is because storytelling is an art. The way you narrate a story, it is very important. Now, if a story is told without details and appropriate emphasis, it fails to impress the listeners or the readers. So, let us learn how to write a good story. Now, for that, first let us see what are the main points or the important elements of the story. Now, here you can see the most important elements of the story, they are plot. Now, plot is the main theme of the story, the incident of the story. Then at second place we have time and setting. Every story, it is based on a certain time, we usually start our story saying once upon a time there was a king and a fairy. So the time and the setting is the place where the story is set, like in a village, in a forest, or in a palace, or in maybe clouds, fairy tales, yes, or maybe Alice in the Wonderland. Yes. So this is the setting of the story. Then we have the action. Action, you will understand. Action is the incidents, the actions which are taking place for that incident to happen. The verbs. And then, of course, the main characters of the story, the actors of the story. And then the dialogues. The dialogues are the parts which are spoken by the characters that makes the story interesting. So all these 5 elements, if we work on them and take care of them, then we can create a nice and interesting and engrossing story. Now let us learn how to write this kind of story, keeping in mind all these 5 elements. Now, when writing a story, keep the following points in mind. First of all, plan the incidents, the events which are going to take place in the story before beginning. So before you start writing the story, plan the incidents which are going to happen in the story. Then put them in a logical sequence. Of course, serial order, proper ones, So after 1, 2 should come, then 3, like that. So it's not the incidents should not be jumbled up. Now let's set the story in a certain time and place. So the story has to be set in a particular time. It can be past, it can be future, or history, something like that. And the place, we have to tell the place where the story is taking place. Then make the beginning as interesting and dramatic as possible. So the beginning of the story, the start of the story, it should be very, very interesting and very dramatic. No? Usually we say, na, well begun is half done. So if your beginning is good, and it is going to catch the reader's attention. Many times you might have noticed, no? You start reading a story. If you like the beginning, you keep on reading till the end. But if you don't like it in the beginning itself, you leave it. So beginning is very important. Then we have describe the action using verbs in the simple past, past continuous, and past perfect tenses. So usually the story is written in past tenses. The actions, they are described in the past tense. Then include dialogues to make the characters come alive and to express their views. So dialogues, they are the spoken part of the characters. So if we include some dialogues which are spoken by the characters, it will make the story very, very, and it will come alive. So include dialogues to make the characters come alive and to express their views. Add adjectives to describe the characters. Now characters, they should be described using some adjectives. Characters like suppose if I say dog. No, when I say dog, a picture of a dog comes, any kind of dog comes. But if I say a big black dog, the picture becomes more clear on your mind what kind of dog we are talking about. No, it creates a sort of picture in the mind. It visualizes, it helps the reader to visualize. So always use some adjectives to describe the characters so that they come out, they stand out. Add adverbs to show the manner in which the characters act. So all the actions which the characters are doing, if we want to describe them or if we want to make those actions come alive, we should add adverbs. No? Adverbs, adverbs are the words which describe the verbs, actions. So for example, he ran. No? He ran. If I say he ran fast or he ran swiftly, so we are adding adverb to the word fast, and it helps to define that verb better. Then use appropriate sequence markers and discourse markers to indicate the progression in time and action. Now here it means that we should use such words which help us to define the sequence of events. For example, if the words then, later on, afterwards, soon after, finally, in the end. So such words should be used. Then give your story an appropriate ending. So of course, if beginning is there, then ending also has to be very appropriate to make the story interesting. Now it could be as dramatic and interesting as the beginning. So ending should be equally good. Add a suitable title. This is very important. So a suitable title is to be added to the story to make it. Of course, everyone has name, like you and me. So story should also have a title. Bring out a moral of lesson, if any, that of the story teaches. So if the story has any kind of moral which it is teaching, so we should bring out that moral also. It helps to define the story, moreover it gives a nice value to the story. So these are the points. If we keep these in mind while writing our story, then it will help us to become a story writer. We are going to become story writers. Yes. So let us learn how to write a story, and let us see a story in which we will try to see the points which we have just learned, how they have been put in use through the story. Now this is the story, as you can see, of a wise donkey. So wise donkey, this becomes the heading, the title of the story. Give a suitable title, the first point. Then once in a certain town. Now, children, once in a certain town. So, here we have described the time and the setting. The town is the setting. A very stingy farmer and a very weak and old donkey. Now, a very stingy farmer. So farmer, and we for farmer is a character, and for character we have this word stingy. Had a very weak and old donkey. Now, weak and old, they are adjectives for the donkey. So when we say the word weak and old, we can imagine kind of a donkey it is we are talking about in the story, and what kind of a farmer. The word stingy describes the farmer. So he was a very stingy, a very miser, conjuice, we say. Now, one day the animal accidentally fell into a dried up well. So the word fell, so this is simple past tense used in the story. So one day the animal accidentally fell. So the word accidentally describes this verb. So this is the adverb we are using. So we have told how he fell. He fell accidentally. So the word accidentally defines this verb, adverb. So it makes the story look nice. So, and it defines the verb also. Into a dried up well, and it cried piteously for hours. Now the word piteously, it describes cried. So it is again an adverb. For hours, as the farmer tried to figure out what to do. Well, it's an old donkey, totally worthless. I don't need him. Let him lie where he is. Moreover, I need to fill this well too. I will throw dirt into it, and the donkey will be buried under it, he thought to himself. So, look at this. All these lines, they are the dialogues, They're the dialogues spoken by farmer. So, it brings life into the story. The farmer is thinking to himself, he's speaking these words, So, the farmer decides to let the donkey be in the well. So, he invited all his neighbors to come over and help him. So, again, past tense here. They all grabbed a shovel and began to shovel dirt into the well. At first, the hapless donkey couldn't realize what was happening. So, at first. Now, here we are told the sequence of it. First, this happened, then again, later on, the word then. So, these are the words which describe the sequence. So, at first, the hapless donkey. So, again, hapless is the adjective for donkey, couldn't realize what was happening. This is past continuous tense. And cried horribly. Now, what is horribly? It is telling us about cried. How he cried? Horribly. So, horribly is adverb. Then, to everyone's amazement, he quieted down. Wait, let me check why the donkey is no longer making a noise. So, again, we have a dialogue here spoken by the farmer. Now, you see, children, the dialogues, whenever they are written, they are always written in the inverted commas, direct speech. Okay, so you have to take care of this. So, whenever dialogues you'll write, you will always write them in the inverted commas. Otherwise, you can write simple indirect speech also. The farmer told his neighbor they stopped throwing the dirt into the well. When the farmer looked down the well, he was astonished. So, at what he saw, with each shovel of dirt that hit his back, the donkey was doing something amazing. He would shake it off and take a step up. He had managed, so again past tense, past perfect, he had managed to stay above the pile of the dirt. Quite annoyed at this, the farmer urged his neighbor to speed up the work of filling up the well, hoping that the donkey would be eventually buried alive. So, eventually is another sequence. But that did not happen. As soon as the well was filled right up to the brim, the donkey stepped up over the edge of the well and happily trotted off. So, happily is the verb again, happily trotted off. So moral, when troubles come your way, instead of crying, find a way out of them. So we have seen through this story how the things which we learn, the points which we learn, to use adjectives, to use adverbs, and to use the sequence markers, and use past tense, then the heading, then the moral. So all these points we have put in this story. So you are going to take care of these points. Always keep them, especially adjectives and adverbs, and of course the heading and the moral. So the time and the place, of course. So if you keep in mind these things, it will help you to write a nice and interesting story. Now what I will suggest you is that after this class, you please take up some story today. Either you take up a magazine or a newspaper, or from net, you take out some story and try to read it. And while reading, you will try to figure out all these points which we have learnt. Whether adjectives are used, adverbs, how adverbs are used, how the tense is used, how the dialogues have been put. So try to figure out those things. Once you'll read 2 or 3 stories and try to figure out these words or these points which you have learnt, then these will become a part of your memory, and you will, next time when you'll write a story, you'll be able to put everything into use. Now children, in this session or in this class, now you won't have to write the whole story yourself. You won't have to imagine the whole story yourself, but you will be given an outline. As you can see here, an outline will be given to you, and you'll have to develop that outline into the whole story. I think we have been doing this earlier also. So you can see some dashes in between. In these dashes, these are the places where you can add your own things. So let us read this outline. Now children, before we start, you know that in these dash, some of you get confused. You just take them as fill up the blanks and you fill one word in each. But please take care. You don't have to take these blanks here. Here you can add even few words, or maybe 1 or 2 sentences. And what you add you don't have to add any incidents here, because the incidents are already told in the story. Now what you can add is the feelings expressed by the characters, how they felt in those incidents or in those situations. You can add dialogues. You can create dialogues by reading the story, and of course in past tense and direct narration. So don't add any incidents from your own side. You can just add an title and a moral that you can add from your side. Rest, you have to follow this outline. The sequence also has to remain same. And in these blanks, you don't have to fill one word each. These blanks, they give you space to, you can add whatever you like, even 1 sentence, 2 sentence, but don't add any incident from your own side. You can add the feelings expressed, how the character was feeling in that situation, and of course the dialogues. Okay, so let us first read this outline. A village, a poor beggar carried an old bowl. In it he carried home his meal each day. One day, placed the bowl upon the ground, went to drink water. He returned, bowl full of scorpions. He knocked the bowl against a stone. Some scorpions fell down. Rest of the scorpions transformed by gods into gold. Old beggar happy, also disappointed, when he remembered how many scorpions he had thrown away. Moral: there is some good sometimes in even the evil things in life. So this is the outline, suppose, which is given to us. Now how are we going to develop into it a big story, a complete story, and what can we add in these blanks? Now children, you don't have to follow, of course the sequence of events will remain same, but of course you can change the language. You need not follow the language which is given in the story. You can change the words, but the story, the incidents have to remain the same. Okay, so now let us see the specimen story. Okay, there once lived in a certain village a poor beggar who went out daily to beg, carrying in his hand an old bowl. In it he carried home his scanty meal every day. Scanty means a small meal, meager meal. One day he placed the bowl, which was empty at the time, upon the ground and went to some distance to drink water. On his return, he was amazed. Now here, see, we have added a feeling here. No, it was not there in that the story. So on his return, he was amazed to find the bowl full of scorpions. He knocked down the bowl against a stone. Some scorpions fell down, and some still clung to the bowl. So here again we've added something. Great indeed was his surprise. See how we have added the words here. Great indeed was his surprise to find, when he next looked into his bowl, that the scorpions were transformed by the gods into gold. Thus the old beggar was enriched, but great was his disappointment when he remembered how many scorpions he had thrown away. Moral of the story is that there is good sometimes in even the evil things in life. Now, if you might have noticed, children, here we haven't added any sort of dialogues. You know why? Because they were not possible here. Although we could have written like in the previous story, the farmer was thinking to himself. So some dialogues were added. So here the beggar could have, because there is no other character in the story except the poor beggar. So he could only talk to himself. No. So dialogues we can definitely add. So the same outline, children, you can write on your own, how in your own way you can add make changes and add dialogues and create a wonderful story. And children, don't worry, I'll send you this story outline, also the whole story also in the PDF form along with this video, and I'll send you a few more. There are a few in your book also, outline stories. So you are going to practice those outline stories in your book. You can with the help of a pencil, please complete those outline stories, and you will only take up these outline stories. There are some stories in which only the beginning is given, or the beginning and the ending is given. We are going to take that up later. For the time being, you will only complete the stories which are given in the form of outline. There are definitely 1 or 2 stories with the help of outline which are given in the books. So try those out, and I'll also provide you with 2 or 3 more outlines which you can use for practice. So have a nice story time, and do read some stories. They help to relax your mind, and they also help to entertain you. So some of you already love reading, but others, those who don't love, they should inculcate, they should develop that love for reading, because that is going to help you in your English language anyhow. So bye for now. Thank you and have a nice day.